Good morning, you guys. I was just chatting with a friend about our gardens and the chaos that is the fall, well, like the transition between a summer and fall garden. And there's going to be so much going on here in the garden this week. Just clean up and everything. All this needs to be mowed out here because that's future planting spots. But and before I take everything out, I wanted to give a little garden tour, just kind of to document it for myself. There's so many times where I'm like, man, I wish I had more pictures of the garden, or man, I wonder what the garden looked like this time of year. And if I don't document it, I'll forget, as much as I say I won't. So the sun's coming over the hill. I just did a bunch of work taking out a lot of old plants and stuff in the garden behind the greenhouse, which is a whole situation back there. But I wanted to show you from the end all the way to the other end of what the garden looks like right now before we just rip everything out, because it's pretty bad. But I want to document it because next October, when I'm dealing with this and all these issues, I can look back and be like, okay, this is normal, totally normal. So I'm gonna turn you guys around and start at the end. So this is where this row right here was where all that tall corn was, and ever since I took that out like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, it's just been sitting there and I really need to throw it away. This was a Big Mac pumpkin that I had bought from a nursery local to us. I had planted some from my stash, but the squirrels or something just kept eating it back here. And when I planted this one, it was tiny and it kind of grew a little bit, and then 3 of the 4 plants got eaten, or 3 of the 4 leaves got eaten, and somehow it just like found its like groove recently and took off. So who knows, we might have some Christmas Big Mac pumpkins. This is a mini bell pepper that will be ripped out this week. These are bell pepper plants. I would consider this a mini bell pepper plant because they're getting to about this size and then just kind of stalling. So I would consider that a mini bell pepper. I'm not sure what that is, and I won't be planting that again. It was not my favorite this year. All of these are serranos, which have been put to work and have been harvested many times. I should have measured, but I would say probably 100 pounds of serrano peppers out of these plants alone. This plant is a pumpkin that volunteered. I want to say volunteered, but I'm pretty sure I planted it and forgot about it. But it's so ugly. It is horrible looking, but it has pumpkins on it. So I'm going to leave it alone. I mean, it's still coming up with brand new little pumpkins. It's got, they're all over. So I've taken a couple inside around this size. They are sugar pie pumpkins, so we can actually cook with them and make pies. I'm going to keep letting it grow because it's still producing. They're all over the place. See those little ones? So as ugly as that is, and as much as I would love to rip that plant out, I'm not going to. Behind me, this was a funky zucchini plant that I bought. It was a butter stick hybrid zucchini that I bought at a nursery, because same thing over here, my squash plants kept getting eaten. And some of them are beautiful and yellow like that, and then some of them are like ugly, thick yellow, like mustard yellow skin. Like those are the ugly ones, and then this one's like, these two are beautiful. And those are the ones I thought I was gonna get, but I've gotten mostly those off of these plants. So I'll let it keep going while it's producing. Back here along that row was my mini, what do they call them? Baby boo pumpkins, because they're the little white pumpkins. Same thing with this plant. It looks completely dead, but these keep coming up. Same thing with this plant. This is an orange one, and it keeps coming up with these little clusters of pumpkins. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing until I need to use this row, which probably won't be for about another month. Over here, we have a spaghetti squash at the end of this row, along with a couple of watermelon plants in here. Man, the powdery mildew is going off on these plants, but it's still producing full-on watermelons and stuff, so I'm gonna let it go. The bed back here has all zinnias in it, and the powdery mildew from these pumpkin plants have transferred over to the zinnias, but they haven't gone to the actual flowers yet. So I usually trim right about here when I'm cutting flowers, so I'm not too worried about it. It's been producing a crazy amount of flowers. This is mostly the purple prince zinnia back here, but these mixes got sprinkled in the front, so I've gotten some like orange ones and some pinkish ones that are really beautiful. Over here is another bed of corn that I planted probably a month ago, and it's pretty high. I'm going to see if I get any off of it. We've still got some warm weather, so that's been really making these things grow. And there is a lot of ladybug action on here. I don't know if you could see them down here. Oh, where are they? Right there. There's a lot of ladybug action on these, so I'm hoping that they do much more work than they did before. There was cantaloupe all around along the side here, and with the shade from the corn, when the sun is over here, it wasn't getting enough sun over there, so I only got maybe 4 cantaloupe, but that's okay. Lesson learned for next year. And then on this side there's honeydew melon, but same thing with the crop of corn that was here before. It was shading when the sun was over here on this side and wouldn't let that side get enough sun, and then the gophers got to it. So I'm hoping that these are going to be delicious, because they're probably like 3 that I got this year. But like I said, lesson learned for next year. I won't be planting corn along any sort of plant that needs a lot of sun. These plants looked absolutely dead, and I cut them back to probably 1 leaf, and now they are growing back so beautifully. Isn't that so pretty? And there's like no powdery mildew on these plants, knock on wood. And they're about to start producing. This one over here didn't fare so well, but it's still producing, so I'm gonna let it go. These beds are getting cleared out because I do plan on seeding some of these while also planting a lot in the greenhouse to transplant out here. So that's why the beds look a little bit empty. Going back 1 bed, over here was all the beans. I just took down all the beans. Next up here is peas and sweet pea flowers. So there'll be actual like snap peas coming off of this little trellis up here, plus another plant of just the really pretty flowers. And I've been watching these herbalists on Instagram that are making these beautiful teas. So hopefully I can make some of that this winter. All of these snapdragons are going off. They have been all season long. They are the absolute star of my garden, and I don't know where I'd be without them. They are beautiful. I've got yellow ones and dark pink ones and light ones that are like a gradient of yellow and pink. I've got some white ones over here. What else did I miss? Oh, I have some yellow ones that kind of go into a gradient of like orange and purple. They are beautiful, and I've picked so many of these, and the more I pick, the more they come back. So those would definitely be one of the biggest stars next year. I plan on growing different colors of them, but seriously, if I just had this mix again, I'd be so happy. I've got another purple prince zinnia here, and a candy cane zinnia down here. I have some dahlias in here. Not my favorite. They don't last long in bouquets, but I've let this one go because it just keeps producing. The ants love it. There are so many ants in these flowers, and they are prone to powdery mildew. So probably won't grow them again next year, but they were beautiful, so I'll let them keep going. I've got a really pretty orange zinnia over here. So I usually take out about 30 to 35 of these large snapdragon plants or stalks. I'll take 30 of those. I'll take about 4 or 5 zinnias. I'll take a lot of my basil as like a backing. I'll take a couple of the dahlias, and what else? That's basically a good mix for a bouquet, and that's what I've been making all my bouquets out of, and they're gorgeous. Down here is where I planted a lot of little tiny, what are we planting? My son wants, oh, bachelor's buttons. And the reason I have to plant them under these is because as soon as they get to about this stage, a rabbit or something, a squirrel comes and just eats them, and they're gone. These are sunflowers, and they just seeded themselves from I don't even know when. I'm pretty sure I planted them a long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, these are Mexican sunflowers. I think they're called Tithonia sunflowers, and they are beautiful orange, and I hope I get some before the end of the season, but I won't be mad if I don't. They are just gorgeous to add to bouquets. Back here was my cucumber debacle of the year. I am sad that never really produced anything. I did replant it, and these are from the current replant, but as you can see, they're getting that rust again. So if I get some out of this, cool. If not, I'm not mad about it, but this bed is pretty clear, ready for planting again. The eggplant's still going off. I need to cut all these off because they're starting to go a little bit past their prime, but I can still use a lot of those. These were Black Beauty eggplants. These were a Japanese long eggplant. I really prefer these better for cutting and slicing, but these were great for like baba ganoush and for, I mean, they're just beautiful. That's all the eggplant for this side, but sprinkled in I've got a lot of okra, and all this whole side is okra. Man, I'm just looking at it right now and I'm realizing that I forgot to harvest last week, and within 3 days the ones that were, let's see, where's a normal size, about this size, which would be good for picking, have now gotten to this size where they're like past their prime, and they will just be like super tough and not good to eat. So I need to be better about staying on track and harvesting probably every 3 days. See how huge these are? They're just like past when I'd like to pick them. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all those off, all the giant ones up top, and then these smaller ones will have a chance to grow in. But these are big producers. If you don't pick them, they just focus on continuing to grow this large inedible thing versus go ahead and you know, spreading new flowers and growing new okras. And by the way, these are the flowers for okra. They open up so beautifully, but like they're gone in an instant. By the time they get to this stage up here, it's like a day before they're shriveled up and they, where is it? They shrivel up and they're just gone. But while they're open, they are beautiful. Down here I have some marigolds, which has helped a lot with some pests. I do kind of sprinkle marigolds in between a lot of my plants. Some of them make it, some of them don't, but that's okay. This bed is a sad mess. It's still flowering, so there's still hope for a lot of production this year, but I need to come in here and clear out all the old peppers because a lot of these have gone way past their prime and they are riddled with bite holes from birds, probably from rats, because we do have rats in the garden, and they are like this and they're just gross. So if I pick those off, it'll give everything else a chance to grow in, and they're just covered in like these little white things. I have no idea what those are. They're not aphids. These are definitely aphids down here, but I don't know what all those white things are, but they're also covered in ants. So it's not real easy for me to get into these. I don't know what I'll do next year to prevent that. Maybe not planting them so close, but that's okay for now. Over here, same thing with this pepper bed. It got kind of annihilated during that storm. It just got so heavy with the rainwater on the leaves, plus how full they were with the peppers, and they just kind of broke. So I need to come in here and just say adios to my peppers, or at least cut them back to the stalk and overwinter them. You can overwinter peppers if you cut it back to the main stalk. So right here, if you cut it back all right there, I mean cut everything off, all the branches, and leave maybe a couple of these, like this branch maybe. Almost dropped my phone. If you cut it all back and leave that one branch, put it in a pot in the greenhouse or inside your garage or something, you could totally come out and plant it next year, and it'll have a head start on all the other ones that you're starting from seed or that you just buy from the hardware store. Down here are some green onions that I just let go like crazy, and they have gone way past their prime, but they're bulbing, so I can still use the tops for any kind of things that I would use green onions for, but I can also use the bulb for just a regular onion. Over here, the tomato situation, I have cut these back. Me and my friend have cut them back probably 10 times, and they just keep growing like crazy. All this new growth up here is so beautiful, but they're flowering, but they're not actually producing anything. So I need to start ripping these out. But for now, they're not really doing anything as far as production or hurting anything, so I'm just going to leave it. I have noticed a ton of grasshoppers in these plants, like a lot of grasshoppers, so that's a problem. So now on to the grand finale. I'm just cleaning up in the greenhouse, getting something started, but I will show you that I really can't plant too much in the greenhouse because it is still so hot in here that it's melting pots. These are just sitting out on the table in the sun, you know, just with the heat and everything, and it's just melting these and my trays and everything. So it's still way too hot to plant in here. I do have my onions going back there, but I'm not sure when I'll start planting in here. I'm probably going to plant, like actively plant, do all the dirty work out here, and then take them inside to my grow room and plant them in there. So back here, I've had this garden back here this entire time. I think I've showed it a couple times, but it's basically just a container garden. And I wanted to try different ways of growing things in order to show people how to grow things. I'm really interested in just kind of diving in and hands-on learning versus reading about it, because that's just my learning style. But these marigolds have taken off and they're beautiful. Oh, I use those in my bouquets too. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. This is seriously this trunk of marigolds. I mean, it is huge, and I've harvested a lot of these for my bouquets, but these have been so beautiful with you know, covered in bees and just bringing the bees here. I love having flowers intermixed, and I never will question growing flowers in my garden. Before, it was like, no, production, vegetables, I got to get more food production on my gardens. But what really truly brings more pollination for producing more in the garden, as far as things to eat, the flowers are super important, and they're beautiful, so that helps too. I had a lot of tomatoes planted in all of these, along with this basil that's left. I will keep the basil, but I took out all the tomatoes. I think I probably got 6 tomatoes out of all of those plants. So they were just kind of a bit of a nuisance. I need to figure out a bit of trellising for next year. I used these bamboo sticks for these shishito peppers, and they really helped. But it was really it was really hard with the tomatoes because they got so big so fast, and they were just like, they weren't producing anything. I don't know why. I had the same type of soil in them, the same watering timing. I don't know if it was maybe too much water for that type of container, but they were all on automatic water, so there's nothing different than the other garden. They just didn't produce. Now this pepper plant has been very productive. So peppers grow great in these bags, but tomatoes not so much. I had a tomatillo plant there, and it had these, but they never really got that big. I wish I could open one of these with one hand. They never really got that big, so I just went ahead and took them out, and I'm going to be using mostly this entire garden for herbs. This will be the herb garden, which will be really nice because I walk past this mainly at the beginning of my garden. Whenever I walk through back there through the fence, my house is over there, and I walk through here, and I always come here first, so it's not that far from my house to come get herbs. But I'll have basil already growing. My friend Jen gave me what is this? This is mint, right? Yes, this is mint. This is thyme, and this is oregano. I hope I'm getting those right, because I know one of them is thyme and one's oregano. I'm fairly certain. But I really do want herbs contained, because they can take over, especially mint. So I won't be surprised if there'll be little mint pieces that jump out and grow down there. But I just came through and weeded this whole place. I'm talking this entire can is full of weeds that were between the beds, full of the tomatoes that were growing in there. And they were just... it was just so chaotic back here that it was just too much to even like enjoy. So I just went ahead and cut all that back, and I'm gonna be using this just for herbs, which I'm so excited about. I have so many herb seeds, but I'm like, wait, where do I put them in my garden that they wouldn't just take over? Because basil will take over too. I mean, this was a tomato and a basil, and it's just a basil now. So I'll definitely be planting all of these full of herbs. So if you have a favorite herb, please comment it below. I would love to know what your diehard, like every year I need to grow this herb is. I have dill and more basil in my other garden, but yeah, I use the heck out of dill. I'm now using the heck out of basil because I've never been successful at growing it, but now it's just freaking everywhere. I'm looking forward to utilizing a lot more herbs in my cooking. But now, you guys, I know this video was like chaotic and I was just like rambling, but I'm excited to document this for myself, just to know, like, holy crap, the garden was overwhelming in October last year. Holy cow, I need to go out there and do this because this is something that worked for me last year. And I will be able to watch these videos back and see that and not feel so down about coming out here and doing this, because it's so much work, you guys. I have 3 gardens. I have all over there. I've got this container garden here, and just past this bush right here on my side of the fence, I have raised beds and all this stuff that's been completely ignored. My plan for that over there is to cover the lettuce that I'm growing with some netting, and what else did some berry plants that I have growing, and a couple things in my son's garden. And then I'm letting the chickens out because it is fenced in, but I haven't let them out because they destroy my garden. So the only things I really want to keep are those lettuce plants and a couple things. So I'm just going to keep letting them out and letting them out, because if you know chickens, it'll turn into a desert wasteland, which I am so desperately needing because it's just too much for me to weed and take care of. My friend Key comes over once a week and she helps me do all of these tasks that are just so overwhelming for me to do by myself, and I pay her in vegetables. I keep her fed, and it's working out so well. Not only is she helping me tackle these tasks that I would normally not do by myself or have the energy to do, but it's just good having conversation and just working and having somebody else who's as driven as me, if not more, who like picks me up and was like, okay, we can do 10 more minutes, we can do 10 more minutes. And just knowing knowing every week that help is coming is like, okay, I don't have to be overwhelmed with what's going on because I have help coming. And if you're open to helping, I am open to more hands, and I would be grateful to have your help. And so would anybody near you. If you're not anywhere near me, reach out. If you're not able to have your own little farm or garden, people need help, and they would gladly pay you in the things that are coming out of the garden. I'm sure we're all drowning in certain things. I'm drowning in peppers right now. And luckily Key loves peppers. So yeah, that's it for now, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.